morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Sunday morning worship service at the DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Linda Clark, and I'm a member of your board. Unitarian Universalism is a faith tradition committed to creating a just and flourishing world for all people. Our Universalist theology tells us that every person is worthy of love. Thus, when we say, whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. This is our message of love to you, inviting your whole self into the space to help us create a world centered on our values. We invite you to learn more about us and consider joining this community to enact our values of equity, justice, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. If you'd like to explore ways to connect and get involved, please stop by the newcomer welcome between services. Well, there's only one service today. I'm not even sure if it's happening. Is it happening after the service? Okay. Or contact Tina Lewis, Director of Membership and Engagement. Now we have a few announcements today. You're invited to the Volunteer Appreciation Breakfast next Sunday, May 31st at 9 a.m. Join us for food, fellowship, and an opportunity to honor our service to the DUUC community. And on that same Sunday, May 31st, please join us for the annual meeting at 11:30, following the 10 o'clock a.m. Sunday service. We will celebrate our work this year, approve next year's budget, elect new leaders, and more. You can find information on the annual meeting link under organization on our website. Also, join us today after worship at 11:15 a.m. here in the sanctuary for a presentation by your Board of Trustees on the proposed bylaw changes. There will be time today for questions and answers, but not at the annual meeting, so please come if you have anything you'd like to know. There will also be a session this Thursday at 7 p.m. on Zoom, and I'm sure you can find that link on our website. Thank you.
The mission statement of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church reminds us of who we have agreed to be, who we are. Please join me in reading our mission statement. We gather as an inclusive community to grow in character, mind, and spirit, and to transform the world towards fairness, love, and compassion. The vision statement of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church is our dream, who we wish to become. Please join me in reading our vision statement. We strive to boldly enact our values towards a just world as we nurture our growth to become a more inclusive and deeply connected intergenerational community.
Our vision of beloved community is rooted in the relationships that we have with one another, our world, and creation. Each week, we offer the opportunity for joys and concerns to be shared here aloud from the pulpit. And I have one joy for you all. The Connetts, Steve and Deb, will be celebrating their 36th wedding anniversary on Tuesday. We wish all the blessings on the Connett family, soon to be grandparents Connett family, and may you have many, many more celebrations. Today, we also honor Memorial Day and all of those who have lost their lives in service to our nation. I invite you to join me in a spirit of prayer for this Memorial Day. Spirit of love and light. On this Memorial Day, we pause to remember and honor the brave souls who made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. We are eternally grateful for their courage, selflessness, and dedication. We lift up the families, children, and spouses who mourn the loss of their loved ones. May they find comfort and peace. We pray for all those who currently serve in our armed forces. May we bring peace to our world so that fewer people may face the devastating toll of war. May we be worthy of this sacrifice as we work to care for our military, their families, and our veterans. May we honor those who have lost their lives through the exercise of our own rights and responsibilities as citizens, and work tirelessly to create a beloved community here on earth. May it be so. Amen.
It is time to gather, and I'd like to invite all the kids, young at heart, to come forward to join me for a story. How are you doing this morning? Good? I have a question for you. When you're at school, do they ever have something where you can vote? Maybe voting for what you're going to do for end of year party or anything like that? Do you guys get to vote? What would you say if when they did that vote, they said, no girls can vote, only the boys can vote? What would you think? How would you feel? Would you do anything about it?
Yeah.
What would you do? What would you do?
File a complaint.
File a complaint? So maybe, yes.
I don't know,
Complain
complain to the teacher.
to the teacher. So you might start off politely asking to let you vote, but maybe after time it becomes more than just politely asking, but maybe causing a little bit of a ruckus. So today I'm going to share with you from a book titled How Women Won the Vote by Susan Campbell Bartoletti. So in 1909, women in Great Britain still could not vote. Hundreds of suffragettes, women demanding the right to vote, gathered in London to march to Parliament and confront the Prime Minister directly. And they knew violence was possible. So many wore coats padded with cardboard and extra layers for protection. And among the marchers were two young Americans studying abroad, Alice Paul from New Jersey and Lucy Barnes from Brooklyn. They did not know each other yet. Leading the march was Emmeline Pankhurst, one of the most famous leaders of the British suffrage movement. And when the women reached Parliament, police blocked the gates, and Parkhurst demanded to meet with the Prime Minister, but police refused. Tensions escalated. Police shoved the women, and the suffragettes pushed back. Officers punched, kicked, and arrested over 100 women, including Alice Paul and Lucy Barnes. And that night at the police station, Alice and Lucy met for the first time. Both had become deeply involved in the British suffrage movement because they admired its boldness and determination. They believed women would never win the vote by quietly waiting. And over the next months, Alice and Lucy joined protests across England and Scotland, and they learned organizing skills from British suffragettes and saw firsthand the sacrifices women were willing to make. Later that year, Lucy interrupted a political banquet to protest the imprisonment of suffragettes. Soon afterward, Alice Paul was arrested for demonstrating and sentenced to prison at Holloway Prison in London. While in prison, Alice began a hunger strike to protest the treatment of political prisoners. Prison officials responded by force-feeding her. Guards tied her to a chair while a doctor forced a rubber tube down her throat and poured liquid into her stomach. The process was painful. We're having brownouts. The process was painful and humiliating. Alice later needed weeks to recover. The projector will come back on shortly, too. It doesn't like being shut off and turned on real quick. Here it comes. Eventually, Alice returned home to the United States, but she did not leave the movement behind. She believed American women needed a stronger, more confrontational campaign for voting rights. Back in Philadelphia, Alice joined the National American Women's Suffrage Association. She quickly became known as a powerful speaker. But she wanted more than speeches in meeting halls. She wanted rallies in the streets, newspaper headlines, and public pressure. She invited Lucy Burns to help organize events in Philadelphia, and Lucy proved to be fearless and charismatic. Together, the two women drew larger and larger crowds to suffrage rallies. And at the time, women could vote in only a handful of Western states. For decades, suffragists had asked politely for change, but progress was painfully slow. Alice believed the movement needed a new strategy. So in 1912, Woodrow Wilson was elected president. Alice and Lucy decided to take the fight directly to Washington, D.C. They wanted a constitutional amendment guaranteeing women the right to vote nationwide. Their first major action would be a massive suffrage parade on Pennsylvania Avenue the day before Wilson's inauguration in 1913. Organizing the parade was an enormous challenge. Alice had to raise money, recruit marchers, secure permits, and convince police to allow thousands of women onto one of the nation's most important streets. Women from across the country agreed to march, including journalists, performers, labor activists, and college students. Black suffragists also wanted to participate, including leaders like Ida B. Wells, Mary Church Terrell, and students from the newly formed Black sororities at Howard University. But racism within the suffrage movement quickly became clear. Some white organizers worried that Southern white women would refuse to support the movement if Black women marched beside them. Alice Paul suggested that Black women march at the back of the parade to avoid controversy. Many Black suffragists refused to quietly accept discrimination. Ida B. Wells, the famous anti-lynching journalist from Illinois, declared that she would march with the Illinois delegation or not at all. As the parade began, she stepped out from the crowd and joined the Illinois women anyway. Nellie Quander, president of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority at Howard University, also challenged the discrimination black women faced. She and other black women insisted that the movement for voting rights should include all women, not just white women. Another important figure in the parade was Inez Milholland, a lawyer, activist, and gifted public speaker. Inez became one of the most recognizable faces of the suffrage movement. On parade day, she rode at the front of the procession on a white horse, wearing a flowing white cape. Newspapers across the country printed her image. For many Americans, she became the symbol of the movement itself, confident, educated, courageous, and impossible to ignore. On March 3, 1913, more than 5,000 women gathered for the parade. Crowds packed Pennsylvania Avenue. At first, the atmosphere felt festive, but it quickly turned dangerous. Spectators surged into the streets, screaming insults, grabbing marchers, and tearing banners away from them. Some men spat on the women or shoved them to the ground. Police protection was almost non-existent. Still, the marchers continued. Women locked arms and kept moving forward despite the harassment. Eventually, soldiers and bystanders helped clear the streets so the parade could continue. The shocking violence became national news, and instead of humiliating the suffragists, it won sympathy for their cause. After the parade, Alice Paul and Lucy Barnes pushed for even more direct action. They organized campaigns urging women voters in Western states to vote against politicians who opposed suffrage. Eventually, they split from the larger suffrage organization and formed the National Women's Party. In 1917, they began picketing outside the White House, the first group ever to do so. Day after day, women stood silently holding banners asking President Wilson why America claimed to support democracy abroad while denying women the vote at home. Many Americans considered the protest improper and unpatriotic, especially after the United States entered World War I. Crowds attacked the picketers. Police arrested dozens of women, including Alice Paul and Lucy Barnes. Again, the women chose prison rather than paying fines. The conditions in prison were brutal. Guards beat prisoners, isolated them, and force-fed those who began hunger strikes. Lucy Barnes was chained to the bars of her cell with her hands over her head. Alice Paul was placed in a psychiatric ward and force-fed repeatedly. News of the abuse slowly reached the public and caused outrage. More Americans began supporting the suffrage movement. Finally, President Wilson changed his position and endorsed a constitutional amendment for women's voting rights. In 1919, Congress passed the 19th Amendment, but it still needed approval from 3/4 of the states. The final battle came in Tennessee in 1920. A young state legislator named Harry Byrne planned to vote against suffrage, but he carried a letter from his mother urging him to vote for suffrage. At the last moment, he changed his vote. With Tennessee's approval, the 19th Amendment became law on August 26, 1920. Women across the United States had finally won the right to vote. It had taken decades of organizing, protesting, imprisonment, sacrifice, and courage. And at the center of the struggle were women like Alice Paul, Lucy Barnes, Emmeline Parkhurst, Ida B. Wells, and countless others who refused to accept silence or exclusion. The suffrage movement helped expand democracy in America, but it also reflected many of the racial divisions of its time. Black suffragists often had to fight two battles at once, against sexism and against racism. Even after the 19th Amendment was passed, many black women in the South were still prevented from voting for decades through intimidation, violence, poll taxes, and literacy tests. Their story reminds us that democracy is rarely handed freely to people. More often, it is claimed by ordinary people willing to demand that their nation lives up to its ideals. Thank you for joining me up here. Let's sing to the children.
Giving of our treasure is how we reciprocate the many gifts we are given by this community and how we live our values in the world. Each Sunday, we offer our financial gifts to both this congregation and to an organization that gives life to these values and makes a difference in the world. This month's special collection is for NAMI DuPage, nominated by DUUC member Suzanne Gowdy. NAMI DuPage provides support, advocacy, and education in order to improve the quality of life of individuals with mental illness and their families. NAMI DuPage serves more than 23,000 people annually and was founded by a group of parents in 1985 looking for services for their children. NAMI DuPage has grown from this handful of parents to an organization of more than 1,000 members and has become one of the largest and most innovative of the 600+ NAMI affiliates nationwide. NAMI has been a catalyst for change and reform in DuPage County. As we pass our offering plate, know that it is a vessel that connects us to each other through our gratitude and our generosity. So give freely your thankfulness and abundance so that our values may forever take hold in the world.
What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she won't back down? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens? What happens? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she won't back down? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens? What happens? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she won't back down? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she wears the crown? What happens when she rules her own body? What happens when she sets the beat? What happens when she bows to nobody? What happens when she stands on her own 2 feet? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she won't back down? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens? What happens? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she won't back down? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she wears the crown? Whoa, we rise above. Whoa, we lead with love. Whoa, we have won. We nation. Whoa, we rise above. Whoa, we lead with love. Whoa, we have won. We are one. We've just begun. What happens when a woman? What happens when a woman? What happens when she won't? What happens when she won't? What happens when a woman? What happens when a woman? What happens? What happens? What happens when a woman? What happens when a woman? What happens when a
In order to speak about a particular gender, especially in a universal sort of way, and by the way, gender is not actually universal, let's first begin by speaking about sex versus gender. Sex are the biological and physiological traits one is born with. While we love our little boxes and our binary thinking, sex is more than just visually apparent physical characteristics. It is not at all uncommon for sex to appear one way and hormonally actually be another way. It's not so neat and tidy. Gender, on the other hand, is a social construct. So definitely not neat and tidy for all that we claim it to be. It is all the stereotypes, behaviors, and expressions that society claims are masculine versus feminine. But we know that what society claims as male or female can be a broad spectrum. And we know that the binary idea of only two genders is also a Western social construct. Many traditions have recognized gender fluidity and gender queerness for millennia. And this binary construct is hideous. You see, Western society has a masculinity problem. It's rooted in patriarchy that stems from white supremacy culture. I have experienced the oppression of this masculinity. One of its most insidious forms is the dominance of bodily autonomy. Masculinity believes that it has the right to own, to comment on, or to police bodies. For women, it can show up in simple comments such as, "You are so loud, tall, dominant, bossy, assertive." I've been on the receiving end of most of these comments, some of them even here in this congregation. Those categories are too masculine for women, thus claiming that the receiver of those comments is deviant. Sometimes it shows up more subtly. "You speak so well," which has many silent endings for a woman, for an immigrant non-native English speaker, for a person of color, for a child, for a beautiful person, for an effeminate person. There are more examples, of course. "You should smile more" is part of a series of comments that extend to clothes and hairstyles and makeup. "Don't cry, don't get angry, don't show emotion" is said to many women, but also children, as part of an accusation that there is emotional manipulation about to happen. I'm sure you all have your own examples. And those are simply the things that have been said, not the way that these words can lead to physical actions of hurt, harm, and abuse. Underlying these comments are beliefs and social constructs in the gender binary that have become institutionalized. And at the top of that binary, because of course there's hierarchy within patriarchy, is the idea that men are powerful and dominant and perfect. Women are emotional. Women are naturally submissive. Women are bad with numbers or finances. Women are less physically strong. You name any of those stereotypes, and I can guarantee you I can find an exception. But those exceptions do not negate the damage of the assumptions. And the assumptions are much more damning because they work their way into our everyday lives. I've said before, the pathway to beloved community requires transformation, and transformation requires work. We can rest in the revolution, but we must also be examining how we show up and how we begin anew all the time. And it's constant and exhausting work, and dismantling the patriarchy is one of the hardest tasks before us. It's impossible to be a woman, as the actress America Ferrera says in the Barbie movie. Women are to fulfill every stereotype about femininity, which is often contradictory. And heaven forbid one choose to transcend the gender binary and move into a gender queer identity. The thing is, when the boundaries of gender are transgressed, and more specifically, when a woman presumes to do or be things that are typically masculine, when a genderqueer person becomes too effeminate or too masculine or too ambiguous, the consequences are not simply verbal abuse, which is bad enough. The consequences are often violence and death. The rates of femicide and the murder of trans people, especially trans women, are worthy of our attention. I say this because while there is a massive difference from verbal comments to death, the attitude that underlines both are the same, and it's rooted in power. So even if you have not perpetuated physical violence towards a woman, there is still power present and change that needs to happen. Women are remarkable. We have lived, given birth or not, raised our children, mourned our children, managed households and unreasonable expectations, gone to war, led organizations and movements, and pushed against these socially constructed stereotypes while thriving, not just surviving. Women are unshakable in their power. And yet, women, like queer folks and men, grew up in the culture that is patriarchy, which means that women are also steeped in the attitudes of power that patriarchy possesses. Women are often pitted against other women for their femininity, for men's gratification, or for even more power. The story Steve shared of the second generation of suffragettes who fought with the first generation to be more intersectional, to be more visible and radical, is one of the ways that women have hurt other women through patriarchy. Or I think of the story of Emmett Till, of a white woman using the stereotypes of femininity to hold power over a black child until death. We are all complicit in the system of power that is patriarchy within white supremacy. It takes a conscious effort to shift attitudes of destruction, violence, competition, and death to those of life-giving abundance. As we enter a time when Roe v. Wade has been repealed, when trans lives are being erased, when the trad wife movement is taking on popularity, when birth rates are plummeting and politicians wish to incentivize women's bodies towards procreation, we have to consider what being an ally means, especially as a faith tradition with values that include justice, equity, compassion, and the tradition that is rooted in the idea that all people are inherently worthy. So how do we be good allies? How do we counter narratives of hate and stereotype? How do we stop femicide? How do we end the disappearance of Indigenous women? They are disappearing. How do we advocate for Black women's maternal health care? They are dying in the hospitals giving birth. The thing about patriarchy is that it only knows power and it lacks imagination. Whenever I've had conversations about feminism with those stuck in patriarchy, the argument has always been, women will just try to control everything and treat men badly. The thing is that attitude only understands one thing: power. It assumes that women will lead as men have historically led. Matriarchy, a concept that is pitted against patriarchy as the opposite of male power, is not actually female power. Matriarchy is not power over anything, and certainly not women's power overall. Here's what one Indigenous leader has to say about matriarchy. True feminism is this form of matriarchy. True feminism is intersectional in nature. True feminism does not believe in competition, in hoarding power, or in violence. True feminism believes that power lives in the we and not the I. The idea of a council, the idea of nurture and care, of accountability, of shared responsibility rooted in the tending of souls and bodies, and a planet that is loved, not exploited. That is what matriarchy is. The beauty of matriarchal feminist attitudes is that it isn't just all about women, it's about all of us. Power is collectively held and comes about through the liberation of all people. So I ask you today to consider your attitudes, your words, your actions, and how they can be more matriarchal and less patriarchal. And while I make this ask, especially to those who are masculine, I do not make it to them alone, for we can all be better allies. We all can think more intersectionally, more inclusively, and more lovingly. Ask the women in your life how you have failed them. Ask the women in your life how you can support them and care for them. And then expand that even wider. Ask the Black, Indigenous, people of color, disabled, queer folks, and more how you can be better allies to them. And then make space to be transformed, because we all heal when we've all been cared for.
Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 34, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire. Is this on?
Beloveds, as we leave this place, may we work together for all our liberation through love that holds no boundaries. May it be so. Blessed be.
Please join me in reading our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish the light of this chalice, but not the light in our hearts. Until we meet again, may the warmth of our community carry you.